Happy New Year, everybody. I am delighted to see everyone's faces back here in the office and get back to work after a nice but much needed, a very relaxing and much needed holiday over the New Year. So this morning, when I was browsing a little on Instagram and I got to check in on some of my favorite people to listen to, I came across Shawn Stevenson's podcast where he had a little Instagram TV clip that he talked about the gut-brain axis, or the gut-brain connection, if you will, that talked about the importance of the vagus nerve. And if you don't know what the vagus nerve is, it's called the wanderer. It's one of the cranial nerves that sort of extends from the top of the neck and goes all the way down through the entire GI. It's very much known to have to be a big player. It's very much known to be a player in the gut-brain, not just axis, is something that is familiar to people, but the influence from how the neck and the brain connect to our neurons packed within our GI system. So this raised the question, and one of the reasons that I thought I should make a video to elaborate on what Shawn said. And Shawn is a researcher, gold standard, breaking down and really dissecting lots of very pertinent information when it comes to science. I think everyone should listen to Shawn Stevenson on the Model Health podcast, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's called the Model Health podcast, like the #1 podcast from various time frames. Sleep Smarter and now Eat Smarter is 2 books he's written. So what he basically said was, he talked about the new study. All right, so let's look at this together. We have the role of the duodenum. So that is the first part of the small intestine, if you will, the jejunum, the duodenum. This is very imperative part of the GI system that can very quickly get triggered with inflammation when it's fighting foods that it's not really agreeing with. Like, it's your body, your innate telling you, hey, we don't really like this food. And it's right here in my duodenum, jejunum, and the top of the GI tract. And it's talking about its connection with the vagus nerve. And look at this, learned nutrient preferences. That's kind of cool. That's talking about your brain recognizing, and your body's, GI, your nervous system. Okay. Your nervous system is recognizing what it doesn't like and what it will do with this. This is a 2019 study. And this right here, what I'm going to do is skip down to the conclusion, not because I'm saying this is what a conclusion proves or anything like that. That's not me. But I'd really like to get into, what it's summarizing and why Shawn brought this up. It says different macronutrients, i.e. carbs, fats, protein, make use of distinct gut-brain pathways to influence food preferences, thereby mirroring nutrient-specific processes of food digestion. Specifically, whereas both vagal intervention, that means our vagus nerve and the way it's signaled, and duodenal sensing, right, what our small intestine is doing, appear critical for generating response to fats and protein. Glucose preferences recruit post-duodenal, vagal independent pathways and further down the small intestines. In pair with the control of glucose, homeostasis, right, balance. Overall, our data suggests that physiological processes involved in digesting and absorbing fats, amino acids, and glucose overlap with those mediating learned preferences for each of these nutrients. Okay, so what did that little conclusion tell us? Well, it tells us that the mechanisms by which your gut reacts to food, the type of food and the volume of food you eat, can either inhibit or stimulate the food absorption. It can either inhibit or stimulate food absorption. And what that means is that it's a big significance, because if you eat food and you're like, well, I'm eating healthy food, you may not be absorbing the B12. You may not be absorbing the magnesium. You may not be absorbing the iron. You may not be absorbing any of the vitamin A or any of the cholesterol or any of the good things to make your body run optimally via the nerve interference of the vagus nerve, because of the interpretation of that duodenum and jejunum. Well, now I'm elaborating because it said duodenum, but but if you guys follow a little bit of science, you'll get what I mean. And my goal is always to make this as simple as possible for you out there. So why am I so excited about this video as a chiropractor? Well, chiropractors adjust the neck. No, we're not just cracking necks. Why would a chiropractor specifically adjust the neck to stimulate a nerve, whether it be your brachial plexus, right? That's in the arm that goes down through your elbow, up to your forearm and into your fingers. Whether it's behind your scapula, whether it's the mid back, or talking about, your trapezius and your scalene muscles back here. No, it's more than that. It's about actually influencing that vagus nerve. If that's what was, clinically significant, if it was clinically called for us to adjust that upper cervical or anywhere in the cervical where we thought it was going to influence the vagus nerve, that would, without question, either inhibit, right, or stimulate that vagal tone to have a proper parasympathetic or sympathetic response to help you aid in digestion. So think about that. If you are one of those people who has GI distress, but you haven't really found help yet, why would chiropractic help me with digestion? Especially this chiropractor saying he wants to adjust my neck. He's stimulating the vagus nerve, and now we've just shown you the science, just a piece of it. Because again, I have right here I'm looking at it right now with highlights. It's a book I read a couple of years back. It's called The Psychobiotic Revolution, Mood, Food, New Science of the Gut-Brain Connection, 2017, which basically was a little bit different because it talked about having certain bacteria ingested into your gut and the way that influenced your mood. And there's a lot of, science in that. Just think about what Sean Stevenson talked about this morning in his latest podcast, which I encourage everyone to listen to. And I haven't listened to the full podcast yet, but it's really cool that it's kind of advocating for chiropractic, whether he meant to or not. He's saying that vagus nerve is vital. He talked about inhibiting or stimulating. I talk about upregulating, downregulating, having an optimal homeostasis between our autonomic nervous system and how that will affect the whole body, both structure and function. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope everybody had a great new year. Please feel free to share this video, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, tag whoever you think this might help. And I promise you, the gut-brain connection can't be overlooked. It's too important. Get that cervical spine checked, not when all else fails, just get it checked by a trusted chiropractor. Yes, it should be specific. Yes, it should be impactful. No, I don't think that there's a reason for anyone to be, adjusting, every joint in the body and, kind of hoping and praying they land on the right one. You got to get the right biomechanics to stimulate that joint just right. Further talk about mechanoreceptors as well. I don't even think I touched upon in here, but how cool is that? Till next time, guys, stay healthy.